It's Tuesday, the 6th of April, 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Morning, Michael.
All right, story number 1, Sean. Big day yesterday. It's always a big day when the board of the Reserve Bank meets, but the RBA has opened the door now to rate rises in coming months, dropping its reference to being patient when it comes to lifting rates.
Yes, the central bank left the official cash rate at 0.1%, but previously it had said it was prepared to be patient about raising rates, and that line fell out of the monthly communique after the board meeting yesterday morning. Many investors and market economists now expect a rate rise in June this year. That would be the first since 2010. In fact, financial markets have priced in a cash rate of 1.7% by the end of the year. That means we'd be paying about 5.5% on our home loan, or an extra $1,000 a month. Don't think we're going to quite get to those levels, but barring a sudden outbreak of COVID cases or an escalation of the war in Europe or some other unseen catastrophe, people will be paying more for their home loans in the second half of this year. The other interesting thing to note, Michael, is that because they're waiting for more data, it's now very unlikely that there'll be any rate hike next month, which of course will be in the middle of a federal election campaign.
Okay, story number 2, very much linked to story number 1. How did local financial markets respond to all this yesterday?
Well, much of it was about the Aussie dollar. It surged to more than 76 US cents after the announcement. That's its highest level since the middle of June. Australian bond yields rose as well. They tend to predict future interest rates. But it wasn't so good for the share market. It was having a pretty good day. And then the information came out at 2:30 yesterday afternoon, and it dropped appreciably, though it did finish the day up slightly higher. Another interesting commodity at the moment is iron ore. It's pushed beyond $160 a tonne on the back of strong demand from China. But really, it was all about the Aussie dollar.
All right. Story number 3, Sean. I think we are all pretty happy about the drop in petrol prices, but there is nobody more chuffed right now than the Prime Minister.
Oh, yes. He thanked petrol companies for passing through the 22 cent a litre cut in excise tax that was announced in the budget last week. Petrol prices in Melbourne, for example, have gone from around $2.10 a litre to a bit above $1.60 a litre over the past week or so. Here's the thing, though. 28 cents of that 50 cents reduction has nothing to do with the excise cut. It's just global factors, a higher Aussie dollar and lower oil prices. Anyway, the Prime Minister is certainly on the way to an election. He's got 12 days to call it. The New South Wales Court of Appeal refused to overturn a challenge to 3 candidates in New South Wales yesterday. That means the PM can go whenever he wants. Tomorrow, maybe, the weekend, I'd say.
All right, Sean, story number 4. We've heard a fair bit about lithium in the past. We're going to hear a lot more about lithium in the future, particularly with an Australian company, Mineral Resources, saying it's going to boost production due to unprecedented demand for lithium products.
Man, lithium is hot at the moment. It's used in electronics and batteries, and of course that's the future. Michael, do you know which country is the largest producer of lithium in the world?
I would guess China.
It's Australia by a long way,
Really?
ahead of Chile and China. And of course, people who make electronics and batteries want lithium. Everything's in demand. Manufacturers can't get enough of Australian lithium at the moment. Now, Mineral Resources' announcement yesterday sent its share price up 6%. It's up 400% over the past 2 years, and it's the underperformer in the sector. Alchem, which used to be known as Orocobre, is up more than 700% in the past 2 years. Pilbara Minerals has gone from 20 cents a share in April 2020 to $3.50 a share now. If you'd invested $10,000 2 years ago in Pilbara Minerals, today you'd be sitting on $175,000. If only we knew that back then.
Yeah, that would have been nice, wouldn't it? All right, last one, story number 5, Sean. And we love talking about Tesla. We love talking about Elon Musk. And Tesla has released sales figures in Australia for the first time.
Yes, it sold 4,417 of its electric vehicles between January and March this year. That means, not surprisingly, the Elon Musk-owned car maker dominates market share as EVs become more popular in Australia. Now, according to figures collected by the Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries, there were 20,665 EV sales last year. Tesla previously hadn't provided figures, but it's changed its mind and it will from now on. One thing I'd note, though, it just shows how few electric vehicles are sold in Australia. The total car market here is around 1 million vehicles. So EVs make up about 2% of the market, and that's it. Before we leave Elon Musk, he bought 9% of Twitter yesterday morning, and he's a man who doesn't tend to be a passive shareholder. He spent $3 billion. He's an avid user of it, but mostly he runs polls about Twitter for his 80 million followers. So one of his recent polls was whether or not Twitter adhered to the principles of free speech. Most people said no. Then yesterday he ran a poll about whether Twitter needs an edit button. Not sure what the outcome of that one was yet, but he ain't going to be a passive shareholder.
No, and that $3 billion worth of Twitter shares, that's really barely put a dent in his fortune.
No, that's about 1.5% of his fortune.
That's not bad, is it? All right, that's it. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 6th of April, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, if you want some more detail, if you want a longer daily show, you can find Fear and Greed on your podcast platform. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.